welcome to the Retro Odyssey podcast. I'm your host, Steven, along with my co-host, Matt. How's it going, Matt?
Not bad, thanks. How are you?
I'm, I'm hanging in there. Been working a lot, um, and thankfully tax season is around the corner, so I'll be going back to my preferred career here soon. But I've managed to squeeze in a little bit of time for some games. The main thing I've been playing is Pokemon trading card game live. I mentioned it last time. I've been playing a whole lot more of that. I finally managed to go to a couple of local weekly events for the physical card game. So yeah, I'm still diving into that. I did so last time I spoke about how the digital version was so much better and so much more fun than the digital version of Magic the Gathering. And just a couple of days ago, I realized another way that I think is my favorite way that it's better. In the Magic the Gathering arena, like the entire app is designed to get you to spend money,
Absolutely.
like most mobile games. Pokemon Trading Card Game Live, I can't find a way to spend real money in the app.
That's good.
So there's two currencies in the game. One is trainer points, and one is trade credits. The trainer points are used in the shop, and it's you can buy like booster packs, cosmetics for your deck, like boxes and sleeves and stuff. And then the trade credits are for buying individual cards. So if you just need a certain card, you can, throw 150 credits at it and get that card without having to buy a bunch of booster packs. But I have not found a way to spend real money in game to get these currencies. You only get them by playing the game.
That's good because Magic the Gathering Arena does is it's essentially an alternate version of the physical game. So you spend money in exactly the same way on like booster packs and
Yeah.
stuff like that, and it's also one of those games where you really need to keep up with the meta.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got to be constantly spending money on like new expansions and stuff like that.
Yeah. And the one of the other things I really enjoy is for pretty much any physical Pokemon trading card game product, there is a card in there with a code that you can redeem in Trading Card Game Live, and it'll give you, like, if you buy a booster pack, you'll get a booster pack for that set in Live. If you buy one of the pre-release kits, you'll actually get that kit and exactly those those 40 cards plus the booster packs in the game. So it's kind of a there is kind of a backwards way to buy stuff in game, but it's because you're buying physical products first.
Yeah. Have you had a chance to play Pokemon ZA yet?
I haven't. It is killing me not play it because I've been so excited about this game, but I have to pay bills first.
Yeah, fair enough.
I have played some other games. I don't remember if we talked about it on the podcast, but GOG had a promotion a few months back where they gave away a handful of games that were considered controversial for one reason or another.
Yeah, I think we mentioned it briefly.
So I played a few of the games from that, just to to try some of them out and see what they were about. Um, So the first one I did was Honey Pop, which is I believe you also tried that briefly.
Yeah, I did. I put a couple hours into Honey Pop because I was looking for like a match 3 game, and not really the kind of match 3 that I like to do. Like in Honey Pop, you've got to move the icons up and down, kind of like columns and rows, in order to make matches. Whereas I prefer games where the gems are like already there, and you've got to look and find 3 in a row or whatever you, and match them that way.
Right, you've got to switch two pieces to
Yeah,
make matches,
yeah, I prefer that kind of thing.
and that's totally fair. I I did play all the way through it, and it the I enjoy the match 3 element of it. Of course, I've played so many different types of match 3 because of things like Puzzle Pirates, which we talked about a long time ago. And then there was a Pokemon one that was even crazier than Honey Pop in terms of what you could do. It was like you could take a piece from anywhere on the board and move it anywhere. You weren't even restricted to the row or column. But yeah, I played through it. It's for those that don't know, it's basically a match 3 dating sim, and as you progress through, you get like some artwork of the different girls, and it's progressively more suggestive. The game itself is fine. It doesn't take too long to get through it. There's some interesting hidden stuff in there, but yeah, the game is fine.
Yeah, I think out of all the various Guna games you can get, it is probably one of the more polished and enjoyable. Like I didn't hate it. It was decent enough, just not what I was looking for.
Right. Just and specifically the match 3 element wasn't the style you enjoyed.
Yeah, and plus I'm not a dating sim kind of person, so
Right.
I didn't really enjoy that part.
Um, so the other one from the handful of games they gave away for free that I tried was Treasure of Nadia, which is it's basically just a point and click adventure, but it's got uh,
Titties.
you know, well, kind of like there's actually a legitimately engaging story here, but like you know the characters banging all the time is part of the narrative. Like there's a narrative reason for it. But yeah, so I played that, and that actually I was very pleasantly surprised by that. It was like I said, a very engaging story. Good puzzles to work through. As a point and click adventure game, it's really good, and there is a way that you can play it. You can put a not safe for work filter on, and what it'll do is during the not safe for work scenes, it'll just be a black screen with NSFW on it, and then you'll still get the text boxes, but you won't have any of the visuals.
Yeah.
So that was actually much better than I was expecting, and I actually went and picked up the previous game in the series and the following game in the series and played through those. And they're working on a fourth one right now that's not on any storefronts yet, but you can access it through their Patreon. Yeah, I was genuinely surprised at how good the writing was in this, and a lot of the I've talked a lot when we talk about adventure games about things making sense. and I only had a couple of quibbles with some of the puzzle solutions. I guess the most egregious one would be there in the third game. There's a part where someone needs you to find uh, some kind of food to help their dog take their medicine. Well, as someone who has lived with dogs for most of my life, the answer to that question is cheese. But and you find a block of cheese at one point, but that's not the answer the game is looking for. The answer the game is looking for is I want to say it's like candy or bubblegum or something.
You can't give bubblegum to a dog.
No, and you use the cheese in a different place to lure a mouse or a rat or something. But it's like, okay, like cheese is the correct answer for that puzzle. Like anyone who's had a dog will tell you they love, and specifically American cheese singles, they go nuts for it. But aside from minor quibbles like that are more based in my real life experience than the internal logic, a lot of the puzzles make sense. A lot of the narrative stuff works. I do recommend these games if you're not someone who's gonna be bothered by the not safe for work stuff, or if you're someone that would enjoy that, these games are actually pretty good.
Yeah, it's not something I'm bothered by. It's just generally not something that I look for in games. Yeah, it sounds interesting though. So
The narrative is so like the first game is kind of like a murder mystery. The second game, which is the one that was in the free bundle, is more focused on like treasure hunting, and like your protagonist is the son of famous treasure hunter Idaho Johnson. So it's not even hiding the Indiana Jones tidbits there. And then the third game, you're a detective solving two or three big mysteries, but they all feed into each other, and the it all works. And there's a supernatural element in there that it's not immediately obvious in the first game, but as you go further in, it's revealed much earlier in the later games. But yeah, I would definitely recommend those if that sounds like something anyone is interested in, because they were oddly compelling.
cool.
So what have you been playing?
The big one I've been playing recently is Silent Hill F, which has been really, really good. I actually just finished my 6th playthrough about an hour ago. Obviously, I wasn't. No one was really sure what kind of like form this game would take, and people were, weren't sure if it was going to be another terrible one like Silent Hill: The Short Message or something like that. But it's actually really, really solid. It's a melee only game. It's set in 1960s Japan, and it's just a lot of fun. The story is excellent. Yeah, I liked it a lot. It's got a really spooky vibe. It's got the kind of monsters that you'd expect from a Silent Hill game. Really interesting protagonist, and it does an interesting thing where first time you play through the game, you will get a certain ending. Everyone gets this ending on their first playthrough, but the ending is kind of inconclusive. So the game intends for you to go through again and get some of the other endings. Like there's a menu option which tells you like the specific requirements to get each ending. So you know exactly what you need to do on each one. So I've gone through. I've got all 5 endings, and yeah, it further playthroughs create like just a more fleshed out experience. You can find new documents, new background info, there's new cutscenes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just really, really good.
This is sounding a lot more like the original Silent Hill trilogy as opposed to the more recent ones.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it's better. This might be controversial. I think it's better than Silent Hill 1. I don't think it's better than 2 or 3. It's better than 4. So for me, it's kind of like, I'd say it's my third favorite Silent Hill game. 2, 3, then F.
That is high praise coming from you.
Yeah, and I've gone through trophy hunting as well. I'm not quite at the platinum, because for the platinum you need to complete the game on the hardest difficulty setting, which I can't be asked, to be perfectly honest with you. That sounds like a pain, because the normal difficulty is perfectly fine for me, and there's 2 more difficulties above that, and I don't want to subject myself to that. I may do at some point, because New Game Plus stuff does carry on. Any stats you've upgraded, any unlockables you've got to carry on into those playthroughs, so it does make that a little bit easier. But I've heard that is still really, really punishing on the hardest difficulty.
So I don't know. I mean, this is, back at our very first episode, but I don't remember if Silent Hill 2 had this. But I know Silent Hill 3 has the thing where your difficulty is split between combat and puzzles.
Yes.
Is that still in the series?
Yep. You have 3 combat difficulties. You have 3 puzzle difficulties, and you can mix and match however you want.
That is outstanding. I love that so much.
And the good thing is, it's like, if you, obviously the puzzle outcomes change on each of the puzzle difficulties, but if you do know already the solution to a puzzle, you can cut out like quite large sequences, and just like go straight to like the end point. And say, for one example, the first major puzzle section has you discovering the combination to a lock, and if you already know the combination, you don't have to go through all the things to find out the combination, stuff like that. So it's good for like speed running, and obviously if you're playing through multiple times, it's good to kind of like skip some of those sections and like get straight through.
Yeah, that actually, that's great, because I know there are some games that, like, even if you know the solution to the puzzle, you still have to interact with the various things to get the result to trigger. Like, say you've got to put a code in, it won't give you the option to put the code in. You have to go find whatever notes there are, and then you'll be able to use the code.
Yeah, this isn't like that at all. There are 1 or 2 puzzles where you need to actually find items to put into the puzzle. So obviously you've got to go through and get those items. But
Right.
in terms of actually completing the puzzle, if you have all the items you need, or if the puzzle doesn't need any items, then you can just brute force it.
Yeah, so that sounds great. It sounds like it respects the player's intelligence.
Yeah. I've put, I think, about 60 odd hours into it, and I paid like £60 for it, so that's not too bad. Not too bad for that price.
Yeah, and I'm glad that the game is so good, because I know Silent Hill fans have had a lot of iffy to outright bad games. So I'm glad you've got a good one to enjoy.
Yeah, definitely. And they have announced that Silent Hill 1 is getting a remake as well.
In the style of the Silent Hill 2 remake that came out?
Yes, it's going to be by Bloober again. And we don't have any other information other than it's being worked on. So I probably wouldn't expect to see that until like 2027 maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But if they're doing 1, then they're bound to be doing 3 as well, because 3 is a direct sequel to 1. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with those.
Yeah, that, and I mean, I believe we talked about it, how we weren't sure how Bloober was going to do with it, and then obviously it came out and was fantastic. I still need to pick that up at some point, because what I have played of Silent Hill I enjoyed more than I thought I would, because again, I like puzzles, and the puzzles and the mystery are kind of the whole game.
Yeah. The one disappointing thing is they don't seem to be doing the DLC for Silent Hill 2. It had a little mini scenario that came with the director's cut called Born from a Wish, which people have been hoping for a while to kind of like complete out the game. But the voice actor for Maria has confirmed that she hasn't recorded anything for it, and it is focused on Maria, that particular story. So it doesn't seem to be coming anytime soon.
Gotcha. So the director's cut was on PS2. Was that in the Restless Dreams version on Xbox?
Yes. It came out on PS2 first, the base game, and then you had the Xbox version, which had the DLC included, and at the same time, the director's cut was brought out for PlayStation 2, which also had that content.
Okay.
So it's called Director's Cut on PS2, and it's called Restless Dreams on Xbox.
Okay. Because the Xbox version is the one I have. I'm pretty sure it's still kicking around somewhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's, it's good to hear. I know here in about 6 days you're going to be all in on Guild Wars 2.
Yes. Yeah, that comes out next week. I believe it's Thursday it comes out. I'm sure it's the 30th. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, the expansion comes out. It might be the 28th. I should know. I really should know, but I'm not sure. It's at some point next week anyway. That expansion is coming out, and yeah, really looking forward to that. Currently, I'm still playing daily. They've currently got the Halloween event on at the moment. So been playing through that. Should point out as well, we are recording this like a week in advance, so by the time this goes out, it won't be next week, it'll be last week. Or
that's
previous
true.
few days, yeah. Because this will be going out on Halloween, because this is our Halloween episode. Boo. And so yeah, I will have already been playing that by the time this goes out.
So what is I've seen Halloween events in some of the other games I've played. What does Guild Wars 2 do?
So it's got an event called Shadow of the Mad King, and it's actually my favourite event that they do. You basically have a lot of different mini events. There's one central area called the Mad King's Labyrinth. The Mad King is essentially this big dude with a pumpkin for a head. And he controls this labyrinth, and there's all events in the labyrinth. There are doors that pop up which you can open, and it's got bosses in and mobs, and there are mobs running around. There's a race event in there. There's also a separate area which is just for racers. There's something called the Mad King's Clock Tower, which is a jumping puzzle, which is notoriously quite difficult. There are two different versions. There's a timed one and there's a stopped one. The stopped one is easy enough, but the timed one is pretty tough. It's also got an event called Mad King Says, which is essentially Simon Says, and that happens every couple of hours in Lion's Arch. He'll tell you to do something, and if he doesn't say Mad King Says first, then you don't do it, etc. And it's just got a lot of little mini events, all tied to there's like a couple mini games as well. It's an event with a lot to do, and it is my favorite event of the year because of that. Nice. It's there's a hell of a lot there.
That's really cool. Man, maybe one day I'll be playing Guild Wars 2 around Halloween. But that is not today.
I actually started Guild Wars 2 around Halloween. My main character had her 3rd birthday gift 3 days ago, I think. So yeah, I started playing 3 days ago, 3 years ago, this week.
Nice. That one I can't take credit for. You went into that all on your own.
Yeah, I was just getting a bit bored with Final Fantasy XIV, and I was looking for another MMO, and I just happened to come across a video, Guild Wars 2. And I thought, I played the beta for a little bit, but I didn't really get a feeling for the game. So decided to give it a go because they had a free trial. And about 2 hours into the free trial, I thought, okay, I'm buying the full version of this game. Which I did, yeah.
Very, very similar to my experience.
Yeah, it's it just grabbed me in a way that the other games haven't, just because of its horizontal progression instead of vertical progression. You don't have to keep constantly playing to keep up with the new content.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you max level, you can jump into any expansion, and it's all going to be synced to your level. So
yeah, it's a fantastic system, and I look forward to being able to engage with it fully, because what I have played I have thoroughly enjoyed.
Yeah.
All right, so do we have any news really?
I honestly haven't really been keeping up with gaming news recently. Nothing has really jumped out at me. There's a new trailer for Hideo Kojima's new game, which looks fantastic, but that's not really retro related, but check it out if you can, because that looks really good. Mm-hmm. But apart from that, nothing has really jumped out at me.
I mean, there's some like industry shenanigans.
Oh, always.
Like EA was just bought, but that's not really relevant to our interests here. So yeah, if we don't have anything specific, I mean, obviously Pokemon Legends ZA came out. As I said, I haven't played it, but I'm very excited. I've seen a few things from it now, and I'm very much looking forward to it. But I have no other thoughts to add.
Yeah.
So with that, we will take a short break and go into our topic for the episode.
Okay.
So, for this year's Halloween episode, we decided to cover some games that are either outright horror or horror adjacent, with the connecting theme that they are both third games in a I guess a series, because the one isn't only 3 games, it's many more. Um, but yeah, so we're doing threequels for this episode, and ones that are, like I said, horror adjacent or outright horror. And the first one we're talking about is Metroid Prime 3 Corruption. This was released on the Wii in 2007. We've already talked about Metroid Prime and Metroid Prime 2 on the show, so I figured we might as well go back and pick up the third one. So I know you're not as into Metroid as I am. So how did you find this game?
I actually really enjoyed this. Firstly, I should say I wasn't looking forward to playing it on the Wii, because I'm not really one for motion controls. But as it happens, there is a specific emulation setup for Dolphin, specifically for the Metroid games, specifically the Metroid Prime games, called Prime Hack.
Yes.
And that allows you to play with mouse and keyboard, which is how I prefer to play first-person games. And after setting up a couple keybinds and stuff like that, this played like a dream, honestly. It is really a game changer for me for those games. I wish I had played 1 and 2 with those kind of settings, which I might go back and do at some point. But yeah, it just turned it into a game that I can get on with a lot more, and I enjoyed my time with it quite a lot. Obviously, I'm not so caught up on the story as such, because I didn't finish 1 and 2, but it doesn't really matter that much if you're not caught up. It gives you enough context for what you're doing in the moment, and yeah, it's a lot of fun. Everything works perfectly with that emulation setup. Looks fantastic. It's it doesn't use like a HD texture pack, but it kind of like enhances the textures. I believe you can get texture packs for them.
Yes.
But I'm just using the standard ones that came with the emulator, and it looks great, plays great, no slowdown or anything like that. And yeah, I had a lot of fun. I didn't finish it, but I got a fair few hours in.
Yeah, Prime Hack is fantastic. That was actually the first time I actually finished Metroid Prime was playing through Prime Hack on my Steam Deck, and playing it with a dual stick configuration. But like this is what I've heard, that people have gotten very good results with mouse and keyboard with it as well. So yeah, if for anyone that's a fan of the Prime games, definitely check out Prime Hack, especially if you don't have the original hardware and they don't seem to be giving us the remasters for all of them. Definitely look into that. But speaking of not giving us the remasters, I'm very inclined to believe that Metroid Prime 3 is the reason they are not giving us the full trilogy remastered.
How come?
Because I don't think they have figured out how to do the various motion interactions with a regular controller.
So what you're saying is they should hire the Dolphin guys?
Yes.
Yeah, because they figured it out.
Like this is actually a hire fans moment, because I mean, and the Switch Pro controller has the capability to do everything that that game requires. you lift something up, pull to the right, put it back down. You push in, turn, pull out. You can do all of that with a Switch Pro controller. But I think like there's probably other reasons as well, but I think Prime 3's motion interactions is part of why we haven't already gotten the full series remastered.
Yeah, there are a lot of sections which do require that kind of like motion thing, but luckily, the way I played it, you just hold down the mouse button and it does the movement without you having to kind of like do anything else.
Yeah, and it should be said this game came out before Wii Motion Plus, so I played on. Well, I say original hardware. I played on a Wii U, but now the original Wii version, and I played the disc version and not my trilogy version, but some of the motions are a little finicky to get it to recognize. That's where your setup would actually have been far superior to mine. But it's like, as someone who is, I'm generally ambivalent to positive on motion controls. So the things that would be detractors in this game for as far as motion controls don't really bother me that much, and the benefits of motion controls for this game are just so profound that it's worth the small annoyances. Because I don't know if we've actually talked about this before, but for all the flack the Wii got for its motion controls, one thing that the Wii remote is just excellent at is acting as a pointer.
Yeah.
And when your entire game is pointing a gun at monsters, that works out pretty well.
I was originally going to borrow the Wii version off a friend until I found out about that Prime hack thing. So I would have checked that out on the Wii, but I'm glad that I found the solution I got.
Yeah, did I not tell you about Prime Hack?
I believe you did.
I feel like I should have. Oh,
yeah,
man.
I believe it was you who told me about it.
Okay. I was gonna say, but yeah. So the motion controls, as far as aiming the gun, work fantastic, even without the better motion of Wii Remote Plus. Which, now that I think about it, I'm not sure, because the Wii Remote that I use has the Motion Plus built in. I'm not sure if that applies to games that came out before that was rolled out. That's something I'll have to look into, because I playing this and then going back and playing the trilogy versions of 1 and 2. I've had no problem with the pointing aspect of the motion controls, and most of the other ones work fine. And I think the motion controls that you're using in combat are much more fluid than what you're using for those motion interactions. Those are very gimmicky. If you played any Wii games in 2006 or 2007, you know what we're talking about.
Yeah, I think from what I remember, the prompts for some of it was kind of like push forward, turn, then pull back, stuff like that.
Right. So that was gimmicky and not as fun, but things like the grapple lasso, which you use extensively in combat. Um, it's just a quick flick and pull of the nunchuck, and at least in my experience, it worked very well.
Yeah, for me with the with the grapple, it's just it's on an extra key as long as you can, like locked onto the grapple point. You just press the key and it works, and then you let go of the key when you want to get off the grapple.
Right, and it's especially nice because the times that you're using the grapple lasso in combat, you have to either use it to stun something or pull something off of an enemy, and it's not like this big thing where everything stops and you have to do this motion. It's you're still moving and shooting, and it feels very fluid. And like I actually think it's a shame that more developers didn't try this kind of thing for first person shooters on the Wii, because Retro did an amazing job with these controls.
I didn't get to a point where I had to use the grapple in combat, but it did tease using it in combat, because one of the enemies, if you scan them, it says you can pull their tails off. Well, you got to stun them first and then pull their tails off. But I did get the grapple hook and had to use it just to kind of swing across gaps and stuff like that, because I got to probably about the halfway point of Brio.
Okay.
Which is the second planet you visit, the third main area, and yeah, there's a lot of grapple points in there. That's where you get the grapple hook, and so yeah, I did a lot of grappling, but just not in combat.
It actually becomes as you get further on, there's some enemies where it's necessary. There's one boss in particular where it's got all these tentacles, and you have to basically shoot the tentacle at the right time and then literally just rip the tentacle off of it with the grapple. But yeah, I think the game controls very well. I think I think this would absolutely we should get a remastered version of this, because it's a pretty good game.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's a Nintendo property, so it'll never happen. But if they could just port some of this stuff to PC, Night Dive would do an excellent job with the Prime trilogy.
Oh yeah, for sure. But yeah, so as far as the story goes, this is the culmination of the Prime series. So you're dealing with all the planets are being corrupted by Phazon. Dark Samus is back after being quote unquote defeated in the second game. So this one, it's kind of interesting because the first hour or two are very un-Metroid, because number one, there's voice acting, so you actually hear characters speak, and you see Samus going to a Federation ship, and there's all these other bounty hunters that she's working with, and the reason it sets this whole thing up with these other characters is because at the end of the prologue, the tutorial, whatever you want to call it, Dark Samus bursts in, blasts the entire group of them, including Samus, and they all get corrupted with Phazon, hence the subtitle of the game. And all of the Federation outfitted everyone with devices to utilize and enhance their abilities with the Phazon, but all of the other bounty hunters got corrupted to the point where their minds were taken over, and they are the bosses of the game.
Yeah, I think there are still some allies that you meet up with, though, aren't there? I know there was on the first planet.
There are.
Yeah, so not there are like non-corrupted people that you can work with as well.
But like there's these big computers that are on, Federation ships and planets, and then you've got some of the Federation Marines and command. But yeah, it seems weird when you're first playing it, because it's like, okay, what is going on here? But then you see that they set up all these characters as cool badass bounty hunters, because you then have to fight them later.
Yeah.
I won't say they set it up perfectly, but I think they did a good enough job that the cutscenes after you defeat them do have an impact. Obviously Dark Samus follows you the whole game, but I do think they set up the other characters well enough that they get some of that emotional impact they were looking for. And I guess one of the most interesting things, apart from Dark Samus and all the Phazon stuff, is that you actually go to the Space Pirate homeworld for the first and I believe only time in the series.
That's cool. I've not got that far in yet, but
oh no, that's like the last quarter of the game.
But going back to that first hour, did it remind you of Halo?
Yes.
The start of Halo, because it's essentially the same thing.
Yeah, it is. One of the people I follow on YouTube has videos about all of the Metroid games, and he brought up, like, look, I'm sorry that Metroid Prime 2 got overshadowed by Halo 2, but you didn't need to become Halo.
But yeah, it's got that same vibe, but once you go into the actual planets, it's a lot more isolated, and that is where a lot of the horror stuff comes from. There's a lot of really creepy environments and stuff like that.
That's what the Metroid series, that's what their bread and butter is. It's that isolation, the interconnected worlds, the oppressive nature of some of the planets.
One thing that did kind of like frustrate me a little bit is some of the puzzles are a bit obtuse. Like, you don't quite know where you need to go next a lot of the times. There's one specific example just before you get the grapple hook, where you go down like a couple of ledges in Bria, and there's a massive gap that you can't jump across. There's all vines covering this wall, and you can see that you kind of like need to get onto that wall in order to get to the other side. But I could not find for ages how you get into that wall, and you've got to there's a tiny little rock that you've got to kind of like blow up with your morph ball and get in that way. And the rock is the same color as the rest of everything else. It's just got a slightly different texture to it, and stuff like that. It's like it didn't really telegraph well some of the puzzles. Some of them are quite obvious, but there are several points where I actually had to look up a guide to work out how to progress, because I just couldn't see. It wasn't a case of I know what to do and I can't do it. It's a case of I don't know what to do.
Right, and that happens. I think on the whole, most of it was pretty well done, but there are some like that. There's an optional one later on that requires you to do like 2 or 3 different things on the planet, but if you do those things out of order, you end up running around and backtracking and basically wasting a bunch of time, and there's no real indicator to tell you what order you're supposed to do things in. So like you'll find part of the puzzle early on, and you can interact with it, but you can't finish with it until you do something else on a different part of the planet.
Yeah. There was also one part that really frustrated me. At one point in Brio, you have to kind of like do like a triple jump while in morph ball form. So you've got to lay a bomb and then lay bombs as you're coming down and try and hit them, because you've got like this this object coming up and down from where you're trying to go, and you've got to wait for this object to go back up, otherwise you'll be electrified. But it's too high to get over with a normal bomb jump, so you've kind of just got to spam your bomb button, and hopefully you'll hit it at like just the right angle to get high enough to actually get onto the next bit. That took me probably about 5 minutes of attempts to try and just get that one jump.
How does Prime Hack handle the morph ball jump? Like it's on the Wii, you just flick the Wii remote up and the morph ball will jump.
Well, don't you have to plant a bomb to do the jump?
No. So the thing, the part you're describing, I believe the way to get past that is you jump, drop a bomb at the top of the jump again, and then the bomb will carry you up to where you need to be.
Oh, I didn't know you could do a normal jump with the morph ball.
Yeah, so that's one of the things that Metroid Prime 3 added. That was then incorporated in the trilogy versions of 1 and 2, and actually made one of the fights in Prime 2 much easier.
Damn it. Okay, that's my bad then.
Oh, and that's something that if you didn't know you could do it, you know, I don't remember if the game tells you.
It probably did at some point, and I forgot.
But yeah, there's a couple of times where you have to do the, you know, jump, plant the bomb, and then jump into the bomb to get to a higher place.
I'll have to go back to that bit and try again, try and do a normal jump. I mean, I got past it now, but...
Yeah, and it might just be a thing where you have to add a keybind in for that function.
Yeah. Yeah, because my jump button is the button that plants a bomb.
Yeah, and actually, I think they are separate buttons on the Wii Remote, but the morph ball jump is a motion, so it would be a third. It would be a completely different input.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll have to experiment and find out.
But yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed this game. Obviously, listeners have listened to me become an avid fan of the Metroid series, and just like all the other ones that we've talked about, I've thoroughly enjoyed this. There are some things you can point at, like one of the new mechanics is called hyper mode, where you can use up an energy tank to increase your damage and be able to hit things that you would normally be able to hit. And one of the problems you run into is a lot of enemies are designed for you to use hyper mode. So if you're not in hyper mode, they take so many hits to drop. But once you are in hyper mode, they go down immediately.
Yeah, I found with the dog looking enemies in Brio, two shots in hyper mode and they're dead. But they'll take 3 or 4 charge shots otherwise.
Yeah, it goes from being too easy to too hard to too easy. And I believe for 3, so when you first boot up the game, you have the option of normal or veteran difficulty. For 3, veteran is what normal would have been on the previous games. and normal is an easier difficulty.
That's what I played on.
Yeah, I mean that's what I played on, just because I was. I mean I'm gonna be playing through this multiple times anyway, but that's how the trilogy versions worked as well. Is veteran is the original difficulty, but then there's a normal that is easier for all three games. But yeah, some other things to mention. One of the new mechanics is Samus can actually interact with things with her ship. So like, she can call it to shoot something down, or use a big magnet to pick something up and move it. If she finds a landing pad, she can call it to that location, which are all, I think, pretty cool additions for the series.
I didn't get to any sections where I had to use the ship to do those, but I was able to do the landing pad thing.
It's not her traditional gunship, but it is cool to have more interaction with that. I will say one of the things I feel like was a missed opportunity was the very beginning tutorial that shows you a lot of the motion controls is Samus sitting in her ship, and there's all kinds of stuff you can interact with. And apart from traveling to different planets using the interface, you almost you use almost none of that for the rest of the game. And I think they could have had some kind of sequence where you're fighting from the ship, and I think that would have been really cool.
Yeah, that would have been cool.
But yeah, I mean, I really like this game. I think anyone who hasn't already played it and likes Metroid should definitely check it out.
Yeah, I really like it now that I can use mouse and keyboard.
Yeah, so what I would suggest is go back and try the first two games.
Yeah.
Through Prime Hack.
I have them downloaded. I've got all three games in the thingy.
Mm-hmm. Because I know when I use Prime Hack, I just use the trilogy version. I don't bother with the GameCube versions in there. That's the other thing is, again, I highly recommend Prime Hack for anyone who finds the original controls to be a little too clunky and just wants either modern twin stick or mouse and keyboard, because that Prime Hack is fantastic for bringing these games to a more modern feel.
Yeah, it's not too difficult to set up either. I think it took me about 10 minutes to set it up, and then tweaking a couple keybinds afterwards. But that's going to be kind of like personal preference kind of thing.
Right, and it obviously takes a little bit longer if you're setting up the HD texture packs, but I mean, I think the games still look fine. This one in particular, because it was on the Wii, they were able to do a lot more that they couldn't do on the GameCube. You wouldn't have gotten there, but there's a it's called Skytown. It's like a city in the clouds kind of thing, and that looks fantastic.
Yeah, definitely didn't get that far.
But yeah, I mean, listeners know I can talk about Metroid all day, but in the interest of time, I'll just say definitely try this game. If you're nervous about the motion controls, play it on Prime Hack. It's a free download. The software is easy to use because it's just Dolphin. This game and the two previous games are well worth a playthrough, even if Metroid isn't your thing.
Yeah, and I should say as well, they are easier than the NES and SNES games, definitely.
Yes. Now, when you get to the harder difficulties, then it's about the same. But
yeah,
But that's the thing, is the 2D games don't have difficulty modes. Well, they didn't up until Samus Returns. But yeah, I cannot recommend this game enough. Whether you play it on original hardware or on a modern PC with Prime Hack, it's definitely worth your time.
Yeah, definitely.
And, Metroid Prime 4 is, supposed to be coming out at some point.
Maybe.
Yeah, we'll see about that. Apparently it's scheduled for release on December 4th this year, so we'll see if that happens.
They do sometimes shadow drop stuff, so potentially.
Yeah.
They shadow dropped the remaster of Metroid Prime.
Yes. I think I said it on the podcast. I was fully expecting them to drop 2 and 3 over the following 6 to 8 months, and that didn't happen. But oh well, maybe if Prime 4 ever comes out and does well, they'll go back and remaster the others, or they could be saving the full remastered trilogy for when Prime 4 comes out, because they've done that as well, where you get the new game and also a new version of a previous game.
As long as they don't do what they did with the 3D Mario games and just bring them out as a limited edition.
Yeah, because that shit is not on.
No.
But we're going to take a quick break and then move on to our second game.
Okay.
All right, so our second title for this episode is much like the first game was very much in my wheelhouse. This game is, almost 100% in Matt's wheelhouse, because we're talking about Silent Hill 3. So I'll let you kind of take the lead on this one.
Yeah, sure. This is obviously the third Silent Hill game. It is a direct sequel to Silent Hill 1, whereas number 2 kind of went in its own direction and did its own story, but 3 does follow up from the events of 1. It came out originally for the PS2 and later on for the PS3 in a bad HD version. But
yeah, we don't talk about that collection.
Yeah, it came out on PC as well, and if you, for me personally, I would say the best way to play this at the moment is to play it on PC with the fan-made patch. There's a fan-made patch, and there's one very similar one for Silent Hill 2 as well, which up-reses the textures, lets you play it in widescreen, lets remap control, stuff like that. And it just runs beautifully and it looks beautiful. And this was already a really decent looking game when it came out, and the PC version with this patch is excellent. But basically you can't really go wrong if you play in the original releases. Just stay away from the HD collection release because it's just dire.
Right.
But yeah, this is the first game in the series that had a female protagonist. I think there's 14 Silent Hill games now, and so far only 3 have had female protagonists, but this is the first one. And it follows a teenage girl called Heather, and it is just a really spooky kind of continuing, basically what you expect from the other two games. It's a lot of like exploring, puzzle solving. It doesn't really change up the formula, but it really, really is a solid game. It's my second favorite Silent Hill game after Silent Hill 2. And yeah, it is just an excellent time. One or two frustrating bits, one, two frustrating enemies, but as a whole, it is just an excellent experience. And a lot of the themes are very kind of like female centric. There's themes of kind of like pregnancy, abortion, stuff like that, and it's very kind of like focused around Heather as a character and her growth, her journey. And I'm gonna talk about spoilers. Okay, the first game has Harry Mason, and at the end of the first game, if you get the good ending, you do walk away from the final fight with a little baby, because his daughter Cheryl goes missing, and you're going around trying to kind of like locate her, and it turns out that Cheryl is like a reincarnation of this godlike being called Alessa. Well, they used Alessa to kind of like summon a god, and Cheryl is kind of like a broken off part of Alessa, and she's about 7 years old in that game, but at the end of the game you get Cheryl back as a baby, and Silent Hill 3 has you playing as that baby who has now been named Heather. So she doesn't remember her childhood. She doesn't remember any of that stuff. By the end of the game she will do, but at that point she doesn't. So you're just playing as Harry's daughter in this game. Yeah, that's the basic premise. That's the basic setup of the story. You don't actually find out that she is Cheryl until about a third of the way through the game, maybe. In quite a shocking scene, which I might talk about later on. But what did you think of the game?
I played the original version for this because I had all the instructions for the PC version, but I've been working so much recently that I didn't have time to actually sit down and set everything up, and it was easier to just plug in the PS2 version on my Steam Deck. And that, I mean, like you said, the original version is fine. You know, it still looks fine. One thing I wanted to mention is I really like how, at least for the first few Silent Hill games, the atmosphere and the creatures and everything were like, everything was very specific to that character, which is why Pyramid Head doesn't show up in this game.
I mean, there's a cameo, kind of.
There's a cameo, but you know, it's not like in the movie where he's harassing Harry.
Yeah. So in the only time you actually see him in Silent Hill 3 is if you die in the other world. The death screen will have Pyramid Head carrying your body off. He doesn't actually appear in the story. He only appears when you die, and only in the other world.
Yeah. But I actually quite enjoyed this one. I know I was pleasantly surprised by Silent Hill 2 when I played it. This one I liked even more. Now, granted, that is having only played like the first few hours of both. So, you know, I haven't seen everything that the games have. Well, I haven't seen everything Silent Hill 2 has to offer. I got myself caught up on everything for 3 so that we could talk about it. But I actually really enjoyed this. I liked Heather as a character. I liked as I mentioned before, I love the split difficulty because that's just that seems like such a good idea to me. And because I played this on easy and normal for combat and puzzles because I did not want to have it be super frustrating on the combat, but I wanted at least the baseline experience for puzzles.
Yeah.
And I found out that the way they handle the puzzle difficulty is really interesting. It's like so I'll give an example of one of the early ones. There's some books that have fallen in a bookstore, and you can pick them all up and look at them, and then there's an empty space on the shelf where they were. And if you put them back in, you can see that there's something kind of written on the sides, but it doesn't quite line up. So you have to put them out of order, and you see a 4-digit code that you need for one of the doors in this room. And that's just how it works on normal. I don't remember how it works on easy.
As far as I'm aware, that puzzle is the same.
Okay. I don't remember if it changes for easy, but for the hard puzzle difficulty, it gives you this huge verse to interpret, and then it's like you have to interpret this verse and figure out which of these Shakespeare plays goes where, and then there's extra math you have to do at the end. It's wild, but that's very interesting to me.
Yeah, I think I've only played it through on hard puzzle difficulty once, and definitely not recently. So I don't remember too much about it, but it gets the hard puzzles in all of the Silent Hill games get really cryptic.
Mm-hmm.
To the point where in Silent Hill F, some of them are like intentionally misleading, and it's the reason I generally put puzzle difficulty to easy, because I can't be asked, basically.
See, I love the challenge, so I will probably go back to this game at some point, and I will probably try it at harder puzzle difficulty at least once. You mentioned it about about Silent Hill F, where you're meant to play through it multiple times. This game also does that, and we can get into the ending stuff later, but I know I'm gonna have to play this game at least twice when I go back to it.
Well, there are only 3 endings for this one.
Right.
Kind of like in Silent Hill F, everyone will get the same ending on the first time.
Yes.
But the game doesn't significantly change on a second playthrough like Silent Hill F does. It's still essentially the same game, you've just got different ending requirements that you need to do to get one of those other endings.
And you get some extra goodies, like I think one of them is a flamethrower. I think I saw there's a lot of stuff you can unlock.
There's a submachine gun. There is like an infinite ammo submachine gun. There's like a lightsaber kind of weapon, which Silent Hill F also has, which is kind of like a callback to that. And this I-beam kind of thing you can get, which is something that I've never actually unlocked, but I've seen people using it, and it just seems insane.
Yeah. So yeah, there's all kind of goodies in a New Game Plus playthrough. So like I said, I know I'm gonna have to play this game at least twice.
You said you made your way past the. You did all the mall, right?
Yes.
How long did it take you to figure out the puzzle where you've got to mix chemicals in a bucket?
Not very, because what honestly took me the longest there was figuring out where to use them, because I read the item descriptions and I was like, okay, so I probably need to mix these two together, but I didn't know where yet. And when I found the room with the bugs, I was like, oh, this is where I need it.
Yeah, because I remember on my first playthrough I was stuck there for ages because you would expect like bleach and stuff like that to be used in a toilet, but no, you combine it with something else and then turn on a fan to get rid of bugs.
Yeah. And as far as I know, that's another place where it's slightly different depending on your difficulty. Like on lower difficulties, you can't go back into the room until you turn the ventilation on and clear the room out. But on higher difficulties, you can go in that room and die.
Mm.
There's just a lot of those little things with this game I really enjoyed. And one of the things I like the most is the map, because I don't remember if Silent Hill 2 does this, but the fact that the map is updated in real time, and
Yes,
it's
it
like,
does.
so you find a door that's blocked, or you find something interesting, and there's all kinds of markings on the map as you go, and I love that. I love it so much.
Yeah, all of the mainline Silent Hill games have done that. It's honestly the best map system in horror games.
Yeah.
The Resident Evil one's decent because it has like either a room will be coloured green or red depending on whether you've got all the items in a certain room. But yeah, being able to see where you're able to navigate, where you're not able to navigate, is really, really helpful, because this game, kind of like with the previous two games, it has a lot of doors that are just stuck.
Yep.
And she'll scribble over that part of the map. Otherwise, you would be trying the same doors over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And it's just a really good system.
And I love it because, when you go into each area, you have to find the map. So it really adds to the immersion, because you have a physical map that the character is carrying around and making marks on as they go. And I love it. It really adds to the immersion and really improves the game, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's one thing that Silent Hill F does differently. It will make the map as you're going around. There are areas that you can get like a full map for, and it will fill out like the whole area. But otherwise, the map is just kind of like generating itself as you go. But in terms of kind of like the markings on the map, it's the same kind of system in that way.
And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there's a point later in the game where, like, the map you have is incomplete, but then the missing portion gets filled in and it's like hand drawn.
Yes. Yeah, I believe it's in one of the other world sections. Yeah, and she draws her own kind of like lines and stuff on the map.
Absolutely fantastic.
And there's another section later on where you don't get a map for the area, and it's a fucking labyrinth. So that's fun.
When did this come out? 2003? Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
The other thing I really like about this game, and I suppose about the series as a whole, if I were to actually play the others, I love a good mystery. So the whole thing with the cult and trying to figure out what they're doing, and the people in the town being cryptic as hell, because of course they are. I actually enjoy that. And like I don't know if there's any like clear answers to what's going on with the cult,
Not really. I mean, you get tidbits.
but it's like that whole concept is very very interesting to me. I will say I did predict the I don't know if you want to call it a twist, but I predicted that Heather was Cheryl almost immediately.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I did say to you,
It's a direct sequel.
look at a playthrough of Silent Hill 1 first, and it's a direct sequel, so yeah, that probably clued you in there.
Yeah, I like how real her reactions are, because a lot of horror games, the protagonist will see some truly messed up stuff and just be like, huh. Whereas Heather is a sassy teenager who reacts to things as a sassy teenager would.
Yeah, and a lot of that is down to the voice actor as well. Does an absolutely phenomenal job. The dialogue sounds like stuff that a teenage girl would say. Obviously, one from like 20 years ago, but yeah, it is kind of like a credit to her and a credit to the writing that they made kind of like a believable teenage protagonist. And
Yeah.
I don't remember another game before this that had a teenage girl as a protagonist. There probably was one, but certainly not as fleshed out. I mean, there are probably some adventure games that do.
Oh, the Colonel's Bequest.
Yeah, I think she is. She is like 19 or something, isn't she? And that.
Yeah. So there we go. There's one.
Yeah.
I think Laura Croft was always an adult.
Yeah.
Samus was always an adult. But yeah, like I said, I the character is very well done, and like you said, the writing, the voice actress, everything worked for the character, and it really elevated the game for me.
Yeah, and another thing that really kind of like contributes to that atmosphere as well is the music by Akira Yamaoka. He is just fantastic. He's done I think 6 of the Silent Hill games, maybe 7. He's scored most of them, and this is the first one that's actually had vocals for one of the tracks as well. Which if you let the menu screen sit for a little bit, you'll actually get a music video, which is one of the first times I actually saw a music video with the character from the game actually singing the song. And I love that song. It's called You're Not Here. You can find it on YouTube, but I would often just put the game in just to watch that music video.
Yeah, I've done that with other things. I had one of the Star Wars games right after Episode 1 came out had a music video for Duel of the Fates on it, and then the Kingdom Hearts games have some good title screen movies that you can that I'll just sit there and watch sometimes. But yeah, the song is really good, and I was pretty impressed with the lip syncing they did, because some of it looks like it's ripped straight from the game, but I know that's not what the character is saying at that moment.
No, they did like some custom work for that music video, definitely.
Okay. Yeah, it was pretty well done. I really enjoyed that. Apparently, You're Not Here was included on the PS2 port of Dance Dance Revolution Extreme.
Oh, that's cool. So I won't go into one of the other major spoilers because you haven't got there yet.
Well, I've seen basically, like, I've watched a video summarizing the whole game, including the the split endings
Yeah.
on a New Game Plus. So I know what goes on.
All right, fair enough. So we can discuss it then. Just spoilers again.
Spoilers ahoy!
But the first half of the game doesn't actually take place in Silent Hill. You're just in the town that you're living to start with, and Heather is trying to make her way back home. And when she does, she finds Harry murdered, and that is what sparks her to go to Silent Hill, because he's been murdered at the behest of the main protagonist, the main antagonist rather, has kind of like had her father murdered in order to fill her heart with rage, because she wants Heather to come back to Silent Hill to give birth to God, essentially.
Yep.
So Heather does eventually go to Silent Hill, and the second half of the game takes place in Silent Hill, and you visit like a lot of familiar locations. You go back into the hospital and stuff like that. A lot of the areas are kind of like familiar. You visit a lot of the same locations, and you eventually, at the end, you essentially abort God. You've had this necklace with you for the entire game, and you have no idea what it does. It's just an inventory item, but you're essentially about to give birth, and you have to use this item to kind of like abort God. It's like Plan B in a necklace. And then Claudia will, the main antagonist, eats the aborted fetus and becomes God herself, with a fucking annoying boss fight. But I guess it wouldn't be particularly easy to kill God. But
Yeah.
but yeah. You do eventually do that, and that is like the end of the game. But yeah, that is essentially like the whole story of the game. There is a bad ending where Heather gets like corrupted, and she kills Douglas, who is the guy that's been hindering her at the start, and helping her later on. Well, I say hindering, more kind of like harassing. He's a private detective sent by Claudia to kind of like find out where she is, kind of like locate her. But yeah, she ends up like killing him in the bad ending, and he's fine in the good ending.
Yeah.
And the third ending is a UFO ending.
Yeah.
Because all of the Silent Hill games have got a UFO ending.
But one of the things I really liked about the thing with the necklace is it's like a little red. Like I think in the beginning of the game, if you examine the necklace, it describes it as having having a red gem inside, and the item description says your father told you to always keep this safe, or always keep this with you. And at least what the video that I saw talked about how what's in that red tablet is the red liquid from the first game.
Yes.
That you use to get the good ending there.
Yep.
And you can I want to say that there was some optional stuff you could do to find that out, and like it either implies or directly states that Harry tracked down this rare, powerful substance just to protect his daughter in case this happened.
Yeah, and that liquid does also show up under a different name in Silent Hill F as well, or it's assumed to be the same liquid.
Okay.
And it has like a similar kind of purpose.
I really should just play the rest of these games.
You can skip most of them. A lot of them are bad. I would say play the first 4, and then play F, and that's all the good games.
Well, I have Book of Memories, so I'm gonna at least play that one. Isn't that one? I think that one was like Diablo-ish.
Is that the Vita one?
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Then yeah.
Yeah. So that's probably more up my alley than a lot of them, but yeah, I know the first 3 are fantastic. I know 4 has more mixed opinions from what I've gathered.
I find it average. It's not terrible.
And then after the original Team Silent was broken up, it's just all over the place.
Yeah, you can after 4. Honestly, you can just skip the rest until F, and F brings back Akira Yamaoka again, who, as well as doing the music, was one of the producers of the original game as well. And that is kind of like setting that high bar again, as well as the Silent Hill 2 remake.
Yeah, and I mean, like, Akira Yamaoka is a name that I knew before we did this podcast, before I had ever touched Silent Hill. I knew that name.
If you want to listen to something interesting, track down his pop albums. They're also very weird, but he has done a couple, at least one pop album, which is very odd.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he does a fantastic job. The music in Silent Hill F again is great, and in this one, and he also did the music for most of the bad Silent Hill games as well. So it's worth checking out the soundtrack of those at least.
Yeah, like I have never heard anything bad about Akira Yamaoka or his work. So there was one little tidbit that I didn't find on my own playthrough, but I saw in the video, was the opening in the amusement park. You know, you go through this whole sequence, and the end of it is you getting hit by a roller coaster. But apparently, if you die in any way in that opening sequence, you still get the same wake up.
Yes, speedrunners will run forward straight into one of the holes that are around and kind of like fall down the hole and die straight away. But there is a whole sequence there if you want to do it. It's basically just to teach you the combat and like the general premise of the game before you get into the proper combat later on.
I did want to talk about the controls, because when we talked about Resident Evil, I was really struggling with the tank controls, even on the GameCube version. I had no problem with the controls on this one.
Well, yeah, you can switch between 2D and 3D in this, so you can turn the tank controls on or off. But you do have kind of like limited camera control as well, which helps. Which wasn't a thing in the Resident Evil games, because the Resident Evil games, at least the early ones, are all static backgrounds. Whereas the
all fixed cameras.
Yeah, the Silent Hill games have always been 3D games.
Right.
So the controls feel a little bit different there, even if they're using essentially the same mechanic. But yeah, I had no problems playing the PC version this time around with the 360 controller. I turned on the 3D movement, I believe, and yeah, I was fine with it.
Yeah, I think I only used the 3D movement, and I had no issues. Like, it takes some getting used to when you're navigating, but I wanted to mention that I didn't struggle with this at all, like I did with Resident Evil.
There are one or two places where there is kind of like a camera change and you're suddenly running at a different angle, and
Mm-hmm.
if you keep holding the direction that you're pressing, then you're fine. But your brain tells you to hold a different direction now that you're at a different angle. So
Right.
that can mess with your head, kind of. But that only happens to an egregious amount in one or two places.
Right.
But all in all, it is a solid game. Like I said, one of the best Silent Hill games, one of the best survival horror games. And if you are into horror in general, definitely check this out. It is, like I said, PC version is probably the most accessible. Well, HD version is probably the most accessible, but chuck it in the bin.
Yes.
Try and get the PC version. It is available for download in places with the fan-made mod, and there's a setup tutorial on how to install the mod as well. There's also like a HD sound pack that you have to install separately, otherwise some of the sound won't be synced properly. But it's not especially difficult to do, and it looks gorgeous. I played it in 4K. It looked fantastic.
Do not buy the original PlayStation version. Holy shit. The prices I'm seeing start at $239.
Yeah, they are very, very expensive. It's one of those games that I could sell to get a bit of money, but it's one of those games that I would rather have in my collection, even though I do have a better way of playing the game. Just for nostalgia reasons, since I bought it on release, same with Silent Hill 2. I've had them since release, and Silent Hill 1 as well, which is really fucking expensive. Those are games that I can't see myself ever getting rid of.
Yeah. I mean, here's Silent Hill PC, 5 discs plus the soundtrack, and it's $100. The PS2 disc only $144. Yeah.
You should have a look at the price for Silent Hill Shattered Memories on PS2. That's going to make your eyebrows raise, because it only got a European release.
Oh no.
How much is it?
So the first result is 500. There's a 420, 600, 450. Now we're getting into Suikoden territory.
Yeah, because there were two games that they released with PSP, Silent Hill games, but they also got a limited release on PS2, and they are really expensive.
Yeah, here's a sealed 9.4 A+ rated for $1,000.
Yeah.
Now the Wii version is $130.
I didn't realize the Wii version went for that much.
Yeah, the Wii version of Shattered Memories is listing $130.
It's not a great game though. Don't pay it. Don't pay that price.
Yeah. Sorry, I thought this was a fantastic game. I would not pay $200 for this game.
No, it's accessible in other ways.
Yes.
Not
Just
entirely.
don't get the HD version.
Yeah, not entirely legal ways, but there are ways to experience this and play it in 4K and have it look fantastic. So yeah, my personal recommendation: PC version with the fan-made mod. Same with Silent Hill 2, and play it with a controller, and you're sorted.
Yeah, and when I eventually come back to this game, that's probably what I'll do, is just set up that PC version. Now, I'm not sure, how did it run on your old computer?
I did run it on my old computer.
Okay.
Because now that I've got a new PC, my old one is downstairs. So I have this connected to my TV, to my 4K TV, and that is what I played it on. And this computer is like 10 years old.
Yeah, because if your old computer was able to handle it, the Steam Deck probably can.
Oh, definitely.
It just might have some extra steps to set up with Linux.
Yeah, because games that I'm playing with controller, generally I play them on my TV when possible.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I have so many different controllers that I use for the Steam Deck.
But yeah, I think we've probably said all we can about this game now. Just it's worth experiencing it, however you happen to get your hands on it.
Yeah, we don't condone crime, but we do condone playing this game in some way.
Yes.
So we'll take a quick break and come back and finish up.
Okay.
All right, so that is our Halloween episode for the year. I think we picked a couple of good games.
Oh, absolutely. Both of these games are solid.
I know sometimes our selections can be a little iffy, but I think we did all right this time.
Yeah.
Definitely games that I will go back to. Metroid I've already gone back to. I've already played the game, started the game at least twice. But yeah, we will be back in a couple of months. It'll probably be for the Christmas episode, I would think.
Yes, more than likely.
All right, so we will be back then. Thank you for listening. We will be back soon, and until then, goodbye.
Goodbye.